Hey, this is part 4 of the Book of Forest. They go in order and you might get lost if you haven't heard the first 3. There are an infinite number of dimensions and realities in the multiverse. I plan to focus on only 9 of these. The 3 worlds below your human dimension and the 5 worlds above your human dimension. And for the sake of ease, I will call your human dimension Midgard, like in Norse mythology. That's just because it's my preferred nickname. It doesn't negate any other religion or philosophy. These 9 worlds are all overlaid within the same space, which is recognizable to us all as Earth. Earlier I mentioned that Alfheim looked like your world, but with many more threads of light which create structures. And your world is plainly visible from Alfheim. It is much the same for you all standing in Midgard. You can see the structures of the worlds below. They are the plant kingdom, the mineral kingdom, and the dynamic forces of nature. When I say dynamic forces of nature, I mean things like the constant cycling of gases in the atmosphere and the resulting weather patterns from where hot and cold air masses conflict. You may be wondering how something like these dynamic flowing forces, including fire and oceanic currents, could be lower worlds because they're so large. But it has to do with diminished consciousness. The flow of warm and cold ocean currents or the tumult of a forest fire is a purely scientific reaction, completely void of any self-consciousness. Compared with humans, minerals are also very much not conscious. However, since minerals occasionally spend time being a leg bone or a skull, they maintain a tiny imprint of the frequency and consciousness of that animal. Frequency and consciousness are synonyms, but we'll discuss that later. The plant and fungus kingdom is yet more conscious. Both plants and fungi are infused with life force and programmed to bring the gifts of breath, medicine, and nourishment to the animal kingdom. And certain plants and fungi carry powerful keys to rapidly unlock new heights of consciousness in the animals and humans. So you see the 3 worlds below are plainly visible from your perspective, and certain individuals among you have the perceptive capacity to see, hear, feel, or sense the worlds above. Let me be more clear about that. Each of you has the potential to be perceptive enough to sense the worlds above. You simply must have the desire to do so and a willingness to practice. Let's talk about the mission of a soul contract. The overarching goal of all of creation is to ascend into higher and higher frequencies, which equates to higher states of awareness. For those beings who are in Alfheim but wish to incarnate or be tethered to a human organism in Midgard, your world, the assignment is to come up with clever ways to achieve that overarching goal of all of creation. Love and consciousness may as well be synonyms here because the more conscious you are, the more love you have. Love is the primary creative force in the universe. All other creative forces are merely a derivative of love. When we have bodies, we forget the universal truth of love. Our bodies cannot contain the entire soul. The puny nervous system cannot contain the amperage of energy of an entire soul. That's why most of your soul lives in Alfheim, and while you're on Midgard just trying to get through life, you run into a million distractions and challenges. You face pain and injustice, and you have the free will to inflict pain in your own misguided sense of justice. This is all just context for the myriad of assignments that groups of souls contract to fulfill. Many of you have this idea that God punishes humans. This couldn't be further from the truth. You contract for adversity with the hope of bringing love and grace into a bleak scenario. I had every intention of dying at age 13. And while my human family is struggling with grief and the seemingly unanswerable question, why, their higher selves agreed to this. It is in their contracts to lose a son, brother, grandson, friend, etc. Sometimes the why is simply to experience more grace and love. Some individuals have built suits of armor for themselves, for their hearts. Sudden loss can completely unhinge these armors and let years of pent-up emotion pour out. And that instantly raises the frequency of that person. It's like shedding weights that have been dragging you down. For others, the lesson is to shift from judgment to respect. There were those children who thought negative things about me. Now they are rethinking the way they evaluate others, and will do so in the future. I can't share all of my missions because it would be wrong for me to reveal specifics of my partner's contracts, especially those who are still alive. I can say that if you read this book or hear the recording of this book, then your higher self has agreed that this is a useful message for you at this time. That doesn't necessarily mean you'll agree with or understand everything. Sometimes the utility is in feeling resistance to an idea. Let's say more about you, the witness to these words. Your soul is in the dimension I refer to as Alfheim, and you are an avatar, allowing that soul to stream a portion of itself to interact on Midgard, the 3D version of Earth. You chose this life, your family, and your key life events. You have the ability to expand your awareness and learn to access your subconscious and superconscious minds to gain a greater understanding of the world. When you choose that path, you literally increase the volume of soul streaming into your physical self. If, or should I say when, a majority of humans on Midgard are streaming a sizable portion of soul, the Earth herself will ascend. The bridge between Midgard and Alfheim will be open. That's all for today. I look forward to sharing more soon.